This Monday edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. 20 becomes 30, 30 becomes 40, 40 becomes 50, 50, 60. You get the picture. Use our promo code Sports Addict for 10% off regular priced and sales price items. First Round Collectibles, the number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And welcome to Pucks Across Borders on a Monday afternoon. Busy week in the NHL last weekend. As always, we're here, boys. The final stretch. This is the week we've all been waiting for. It's almost done. 4 more days of regular season hockey before the playoffs kick off on Saturday. Got some playing games for the NBA this week. Baseball's in full swing. The Masters just finished, which means that golf is officially back. If you're a sports fan, man, this is a wonderful, wonderful time of year. We're going to break down everything we saw from the weekend that was, and, of course, break down all 8 games in the NHL tonight. I'm sick, playing a bit hurt, but you know what? It's that time of year. We're all hurt. Right? It's the end of the season. Everyone's banged up. Everyone's feeling something, but we power through as we do. Let's get it started. I am Mark Sauter, and at the top of your screen, right next to me, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on Winners and Whiners. You see him all over Total Apex Sports talking baseball, football, basketball, baseball. Andre, how you doing on a Monday morning, bro?
I'm doing pretty well, and I just have to, say it's Jackie Robinson Day. So,
hey, yes,
obviously an icon. Big ups to celebrate him. If you watch baseball today, you will see everyone wearing 42, and it's for a great reason. And the Dodgers play at home today, so that's even more special. So,
absolutely love it. Thank you for the reminder. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how you feeling on a Monday, bro?
Shout out to Jackie Robinson Day, by the way. I kind of forgot about that today, but important day in baseball for sure. Talk about
Absolutely.
All the sports there. To get back to hockey for a second, I didn't have the greatest day picking games on Friday. I promise, guys, I'll do better today because honestly, it can't get much worse.
Yeah, but you know what, though? If I were you, I would hold that promise until the weekend because it's hard to pick these games where the majority of these teams it doesn't matter. And the ones that it does matter, they're playing teams where it doesn't matter. And it's going to be a dicey week as far as betting hockey goes. But we're going to do our best to lead you in the right direction. Without further ado, let's just dive into what we saw from the weekend. Crazy stuff in the West. The East wildcard race continues just to be completely riveting, even though it's just a bunch of mediocre teams fighting for a spot, and they're probably going to get rinsed in the first round anyway. But you know what? It's entertaining. Andre, let's start with you, man. What's your takeaway in the NHL from this past weekend?
Yeah, as fun as the Carnival has been in the Eastern Conference wildcard race, I'm going to shift my attention to the Central Division, specifically the Rocky Mountains. The Colorado Avalanche had a somewhat concerning weekend. I know they're locked into their battle with the Winnipeg Jets. The only thing that can really change, I believe, I'm not even sure if that's true anymore, is who's the second seed and who's the third seed in the Central. The Jets basically have it wrapped up. They need one more point with 2 games. They have a game in hand over the Avs. So,
Yep.
The Avs are 3, the Jets are 2. Still, they faced the Jets on Saturday. And we talked about that. You know how that went. They lost 7-0 at home. They were down 4-0 in the first period. Alexander Georgiev got pulled. I did not bet Avs plus 6.5 at plus money, even though I really wanted to. Kind of glad I did now because they didn't even make that happen. Yesterday, they played in Vegas. Another playoff test, really. It's a playoff team. Time to get back on track a little bit, you would think. Georgie back in net. And they take a 3-0 lead that they blow. They lost that game in overtime 4-3. They let up 4 straight goals. And yes, 2 of them were on the power play. One of those in overtime being the game winner. But still, Georgie only stopped 26 of the 30 shots he faced. They gave up 4 goals in a row a day after giving up 7 straight. A day after Georgie himself gave up 4 in a row. So, trouble in net for the Avs for the season. They have 1 game left, and they're going to walk into it after a combined 11-3 aggregate against playoff teams. One of those was at home, and they're supposed to have the best home. It's troubling. I think the Avs are going to be fine in the playoffs. I think they're going to be just in the first round first. A little sneaky, but it was a rough weekend.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go next. I usually let John take the floor next, and I typically like to go last just because I like to let you guys talk while I actually think about what I'm going to talk about. It's an advantage that I have as a host that I can kind of do whatever I want. But I will say this. I'm going to go next because your point segues perfectly into my point, where you have teams like the Avalanche, like you just mentioned, who have had a very concerning weekend. And I think even over the last 3 to 4 weeks, like, their goaltending situation's been a little bit concerning. Like, we have no doubt, you get stunned 7-0. It happens. It's not great, but it happens. We know offensively what the Avalanche are capable of. They come back next day. They're up 3-0, 3-0 or 3-1 against Vegas. We know what the offense for that team can do, but the goaltending is very concerning. And this is not the time of year that you want questions in the net. And trust me, as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, I know that feeling, and I'm feeling it right now, and it's not great. So you have teams like Colorado where you know what they are, but you got these concerns. Then there's teams like the Jets and the Canucks where all year long they've been either leading the division or close to leading the division. Jets were the number 1 team in the conference for a long time, but then they go through these stretches where you're really concerned and you're wondering, what is this Jets team? Can they actually make a run in the playoffs? Same with the Canucks. Without having Demko, it's been really concerning for them over the last little stretch. The Winnipeg Jets on Thursday played the Dallas Stars. They won 3-0. Then on Saturday, as you mentioned, Andre, they play the Avalanche. They win 7-0. Against their 2 division rivals in the span of 3 days, they win by a combined score of 10-0. And now you're looking at this Jets team like, yo, if this team plays like that, this team could go all the way. And then you have the Canucks, where we've been a bit concerned by them as well. Their goal scoring has been very sporadic. Without Demko behind the net, you really wish you could get some reps by him, which I'm sure they'll try to get him a game or two in before the playoffs. I think they have 2 games remaining, correct? The Canucks do. Excuse me. Yeah, they have 2 games left. So you would. What's that, Andre?
No, I was just saying, yeah, they have 2 left. It just kind of took me a while.
Yeah.
My bad.
So I don't know. I haven't seen today what Demko's status is. I know that he will be okay by the time the playoffs start. You'd think you would like to get him some reps before the playoffs do start. That game against the Oilers on Saturday night, I watched that game front to back. That was one of the most impressive games I've seen from the Canucks in at least the last couple months. And now all these concerns you have about Vancouver, if they just play like that, they could go all the way. Which leads me to my final point in all of this. And we've made this joke before. Besides the Kings, Andre reminded me about this in the pre-show. I have a real distaste for the Kings. I do think defensively, if they can play their best defensive hockey, they can beat anybody, but that's about all they got. It doesn't matter. The ebbs and flows of the regular season. We're really worried about the Avalanche right now. We were really worried about the Canucks and the Jets and, Dallas. They can score with anybody, but like Ottinger hasn't had the best season of his career for sure. So like, what about like Dallas? Maybe the goaltending falls apart. You have Edmonton, who has had a remarkable season considering where their season started. But even with them, the goaltending, like Skinner has had his best season by a mile. Can that hold up in the playoffs? You have Nashville, who had this terrific run, and they've been good since that run, but not as dominating, of course, as they were on that run. Can Nashville give someone a run for their money? Then you have Vegas, who, yes, they are the defending Stanley Cup champions, but they haven't had a great year by any stretch. You have Mark Stone coming back for the playoffs. So it's all these teams that you're worried about and then you love, and it's like this Western Conference is wide open. And we can talk about the East. I think there are clear-cut favorites in the East, certain opponents that you'd rather face, but in the West, like, who is there in the West that you're like, yeah, I'd rather play them? Again, of course, except for the Kings. I don't think you want to play any of these teams. So it really, really fascinating stuff. Just shows you the ebbs and flows of the 82-game season. All these teams that you're worried about one day, the next day you think they can win the cup. It's just incredible to watch. So shout out to the Jets for winning 10-0 against their 2 division rivals, and the Canucks against the Oilers. Basically, that game, if the Oilers wanted to win the division, they had to win that game, and the Oilers went in, shut them down. Granted, McDavid wasn't playing, but that's still a very talented Edmonton team, and Vancouver's been pretty gettable as of late. All right, rant finished. John, what's your takeaway from the NHL this past weekend?
Well, my takeaway kind of connects to what both of you guys were saying, because I'm going to focus on the Vegas Golden Knights. I think we went through a temporary period where we were worried, like, if they were even going to make the playoffs during a slump they had. But Vegas, I think, had a very impressive weekend. They stood out to me. Owed them an apology from Friday. Like, I thought the Blues might be the team I had to apologize for. Turns out it's Vegas. Vegas took care of business on Friday night against the words I recommended. They beat the Wilds handily. And you guys talked about it earlier. Like, they beat Colorado over the weekend as well, which I thought was a huge win for them. Essentially got them in the playoffs. And there was a time before Friday's show, St. Louis is starting to creep up on Vegas. It wasn't a done deal that Vegas was going to make the playoffs, where I think in the back of my mind, I always thought Vegas would find a way in, but they were getting concerning for a little bit there. So I'm happy for them that they turned it around and took care of business, because in all honesty, I think it's good for the NHL to have them in the playoffs because they are the defending Stanley Cup champion. I think that's a story. think that's something the media and fans alike can all get behind and talk about and discuss, especially because Vegas is probably going to end up being a low seed in the playoffs, either the third seed in the Pacific or the eighth seed in the West in general. I think either way, it's an interesting storyline because Vegas either has to play the team that's going to end up being the number one seed, likely Dallas, or they're going to have to play Edmonton, which, in my opinion, is the best team in the West. So I think either way, they're going to have a tough draw, but I think they're going to warrant a lot of discussion more than, say, a St. Louis would in that situation. I'm going to be very interested to see how Vegas defends their Stanley Cup in this playoff run because, in my opinion at least, I think this is the toughest draw they've had in their franchise's existence.
Yeah, I think just off the top of my head, I would absolutely agree with that. And boys, saddle up because it's going to be some sleepy mornings. That first round of the playoffs, man, all these late matchups are so good. Plus, I know Andre's doing the NBA too, so we're going to be covering every single game, and every morning we're going to be talking hockey. But you guys, get your sleep now because it's going to be a roller coaster come playoff. And John, to your point, talking about St. Louis, I brought this up on Friday's show. If the standings finish the way they are right now, I know that St. Louis has one more game. I know Vegas has two more games, but let's just play make-believe, and let's just say the playoffs finish right now the way it is when it comes to Vegas and St. Louis specifically. St. Louis Blues lost 3 times to San Jose, man. Like, those are the losses that just kill you. If you beat San Jose 3 times, you're in the playoffs. Now, it might not be that way as this shakes out, but those are the losses. You just look back, and it just shows you every single game matters, especially with the salary cap and how close all these teams are. Every game matters. All right, before we get to our bad beats, actually, let's do bad beats first, and then we'll tee it up for the 8 games tonight. Andre, let's start with you, man. You got a bad beat this past weekend?
I did, because I bet the under in Jets versus Avalanche on Saturday. And yeah, the Avs got shut out. So it was all looking good until the Jets decided they didn't want to score 4 goals. They didn't want to score 5. They didn't want to score 6. They wanted to score 7. They beat the total by themselves. So despite the fact that their defense and goaltending is getting back to its status as the best in the NHL, they shut down one of the best offenses in the NHL. And it didn't even matter because they scored 7 goals. So that's my bad beat, because you don't expect a 7-0 Jets win to cost you a total.
When a team beats the overall by themselves, that's a tough beat. When you take the under and one team just says, no, man, sorry, dude, that's tough. John, I feel like you're just gonna say Friday is your bad beat, but do you have a bad beat specifically, or is it just your entire Friday?
Well, the spoiler alert, yeah, I was kind of ranting about this in the pre-show, but my entire Friday slate was just one I want to forget about. Arguably the worst day I've had betting hockey in quite a while, and I was on a good streak before that day too, so it was a bit of a blindside. I was wrong about literally every game that day, so I think Friday's just one of those days you want to write off and forget it ever happened. And once in a while in the betting world, you're gonna have one of those days. I've had days to on the opposite end where it's so good, it's no way you can keep it up. So you just got to ride with it. My whole Friday slate is just a bad beat. I just want to move on.
Well, listen, man, it's almost a new season. Lots of opportunities. On Thursday and Friday, we're going to do our Eastern Conference and Western Conference playoff previews, picking series winners and all that stuff, plus picking the actual games. So lots of money to make up coming into the playoffs. My bad beat came yesterday, and I bad beat myself, really, is what happened. I had a nice little parlay cooking Blues minus 1.5 against the Kraken. Cross sports parlay with the Blue Jays minus 1.5 against Colorado. Braves minus 1.5 against the Marlins, and then back to hockey in the evening where I had the Canes minus 1.5. Excuse me, against the Blackhawks. And St. Louis was up 2-1 in the third period. Blue Jays were up 3-0 against the Rockies. The Braves, who were once up 5-1 against the Marlins, were now down 7-5 in the seventh inning. And I had a cash out option that was okay. Wasn't great, but it was okay. And I said, 7-5, seventh inning. I'm just going to cash this bad boy out and, whatever. Then all of a sudden, the Braves come back, win the game 9-7. All 3 afternoon minus 1.5 bets hit. And then, of course, the Canes did what they did against the Blackhawks yesterday, and it ended up hitting. So I cashed out, which I believe was the right move. However, it ended up costing me like $80, which is like, of course, $80 is like not the end of the world. But hey, you want to get everything you can get, especially when you do a minus 1.5 4-leg parlay, all minus 1.5. That feels good when you hit one of those. And I did, but I didn't get to reap the full rewards. All right, moving on to all 8 games in the NHL tonight. Starting with Montreal at Detroit. This is one of these games. Before we actually do this, let's just recap everything in the Eastern Conference. Lots of possibilities for this playoff race. You have the Islanders, 90 points, hanging on to third place in the Met. You have Washington at 87 points, 3 points behind them, but Washington is currently in that second wildcard spot with 87 points. Detroit, 87 points. Philly, 87 points with one less game than everybody. Pittsburgh with 86 points. So lots can happen tonight. Let's start with the Detroit Red Wings, who, if Washington loses and Detroit wins, they jump ahead in the wild card race. Montreal plus 190 on the road. Detroit minus 230. The over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 115. Plus 1.5 for Montreal is minus 135. Minus 1.5 for Detroit is plus 114. John, let's start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
I see a Detroit team that really needs to win this game for playoff implications, but Montreal's been very pesky, as you've described our last couple of shows. Montreal's been playing a bit of spoiler of late, so I'm always a little concerned when they're involved in a big game for the other team, which is why I don't think I would bet the puck line at all for Detroit here. I think the puck line is a little juicy for Montreal's side of things, but I think that's the play I would go with because they've been a tough out lately, despite their record. And I don't trust Detroit's defense and goaltending to hold them off. And with the way Montreal's playing right now, and Detroit has also been failing to come up with a lot of big wins that I feel like that they've needed to come up with, and they should be more ahead than they are in the standings right now. I feel like Montreal plus 1.5 is the way to go. I believe it's around minus 135, so it's a little juicy, but I think if you're going to pick a side, that's the play I would do. I think it's the safest play.
Yeah, so shout out to No Earmuffs Joe on the chat here. Can the Red Wings sneak in? If so, are they back are they on their way back to relevancy? I'm old enough to remember Stevie Y, Datsuk, Lindstrom, Shanahan, and then perennially being the favorite. Yeah, dude, those teams were just iconic back in the day. I'll tell you this. I don't know if they're going to sneak in or not. We'll see. And in our predictions, as we're picking these games, we're kind of somewhat predicting what's going to happen. I'll say this. Whether they make it to the playoffs or not, I think that they're on the way back to relevancy regardless. This team has a very good young core, and I think they're going to be a good team for years to come. It'll be interesting to see how long Patrick Kane lasts. It'll be interesting to see, but I think this team has a really, really bright future. They got to figure out their goaltending. I'm not too sure what's going on with Lyons, if he's going to be the guy of the future. Husso had a really, really tough year with regards to injuries, but I think Detroit will always be relevant, and I think they're on the way back to relevancy, whether they make it to the playoffs or not. With regards to this game, Montreal 4-4-2 in their last 10. As John said, they're playing some really good hockey right now. Cole Caulfield, 5 goals in his last 5 games. Which is why I love him to score tonight. He's shooting the puck a lot, and I think he gets a goal tonight at plus 140. Dylan Larkin on the Detroit side has 4 goals in his last 5 games. He's plus 115 to score tonight. Detroit, let's just be honest, they're playing very mediocre right now. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10 games. Really, really good come from behind victory to beat the Leafs in overtime last night. Or on Saturday, rather. I love your play, John, plus 1.5 at minus 135. I think that's a very good play. I think what I like the most is the over. I think over 6.5 at minus 105. Montreal's scoring a lot of goals right now. And I mean, you said it with Detroit's goaltending. I don't fully trust it, and I don't really trust Montreal's goaltending either. So Montreal's playing for pride. This is not a disappointing season for Montreal. Everybody knew what they were going to be. They're playing out the stretch where Detroit's a really desperate team. So I think this game goes over 6.5. And I like the plus 1.5 for Montreal at minus 135. Andre, you with us, bro?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Beautiful. What do you see in this game tonight, dude?
Well, first of all, a shout out to Joe. That's my guy. He's on Total Apex Sports. Great, knows his stuff about basically everything, especially basketball. So check him out. He's phenomenal. This game, the Red Wings needed Saturday against your boys because even with it, 3-4-3 for the last 10. Not well. They lost to the Penguins. They lost to the Capitals. They lost to the Capitals again in late March. They're losing points in the standings, and they don't have the tiebreaker over the Capitals anymore. Talking about regulation wins, Washington clinched that over them, so they have to surpass them in points if they want to make the playoffs. At least, assuming those two finish tied as they are right now. They need this game probably more than any other team on the schedule tonight when you're talking about the Eastern Conference wildcard race. I'm not sure if they're going to get 2, though. This Montreal team, they've been feisty. The last 2 games, 1 goal loss in Ottawa, 1 goal loss in Long Island, 9-3 win at home against Philly recently. They're playing tough. They've taken the Red Wings to overtime twice this year. They won 1 of those. They're going to see this team twice to end the season with a chance to send them packing. A little bit of an original 6 rivalry, not one you tend to think of, but I think Montreal's got something for me here. I'm going to take the Canadians to win. I think they're going to play spoiler.
Love it. I absolutely love that. Yeah, dude, Montreal's been playing spoiler a lot lately. I don't hate that. I personally, I'm a little bit more skittish than you, which is why I'm taking plus 1.5. But I have no problem taking a Montreal money line either tonight. Moving on to the New York Islanders are in New Jersey. If the Islanders win tonight, they are automatically in the playoffs. If the Islanders get 1 point and everybody else loses, they are in the playoffs. So you got to get at least 1 point, but if you're the Islanders, you got to get the 2, preferably to be in the playoffs, and hope you can go on some magical Florida Panther run and see what happens. The New Jersey Devils at home, plus 102. The Islanders, minus 122 on the road. The over is 6 at minus 110. The under is the same. Minus 1.5 for the Islanders is plus 210. Plus 1.5 for the Devils is minus 258. John, you know where we're going. As always, when it comes to you, soak it up while you can, bro. Devils, what do you got for tonight's game?
Last game of the season for the Devils, so hopefully it means something for them. Well, I don't know if they're necessarily going to play spoiler, but I have a feeling they'll show up for this one. I don't know whether to call this a rivalry game, but it's certainly one that has a lot of local stakes attached to it. Maybe more bragging rights than anything else. But the Devils, I think they're the better scoring team, better power play team for sure. I don't, and the Islanders have a terrible penalty kill, so I have a weird feeling the Devils are going to pull this out. Just don't bet the puck line. That's a terrible bet at home for the Devils. It has been all year. So I would say just don't get greedy. Devils money line, I think, is worth a play since it's near even money right now. I think they could steal this from the Islanders. I really do. Get one last win to end the year. Maybe make the path for the Islanders just a tad bit harder, even though I don't really think the Islanders are going to lose that free spot right now. I think they'll hang on to it. But I don't think they're going to win tonight. Give me the Devils money line here.
What about you, Andre? What do you see in this game tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember what I said there. I'll give you. Do any of you remember what I said on Thursday? Either of you about the Islanders?
I can't
Not
say
really.
I do.
Not really, man, no.
I said their game against the Canadiens was going to be the last one of the season, and I'm sticking to that. I don't think they're going to win this game. Looking at what they've done lately, yes, they were hot, but they were beating outside of the Rangers. Really, they were beating mediocre teams, and they were all, for the most part, at home. They beat the Canadiens by 1 goal in OT. Not really that impressive. They beat the Blue Jackets. They beat the Blackhawks by 1 at home. That game might have went to OT too. I don't remember. Oh no, they were down in the third and scored 2. 4-3 win over the Flyers in Philly in OT. That Philly team was in a free fall, kind of still is. I know they're winning, but I think it's a product of the schedule more than anything. They did play tough on Saturday. I'll give them credit. They pulled out a point that they desperately need in that one. They might pull out a point again tonight, but I don't think they're going to come out with 2. I'm going to take the Devils to win this one as well. I think that Jersey, even with nothing to play for, has enough talent there to make them sweat a little bit, and it's going to, at home especially, it's going to pay off.
Interesting. This is interesting. Both you guys going Devils. This is my thing right now is the Devils. So just bear with me for a second here. So the Islanders are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They're 6-1 in their last 7 games. You talked about the overtime games, Andre. Shootout loss to the Rangers. Beat Montreal in overtime. Beat Philly in overtime a couple weeks ago. Lots of close games. That game against your boys last week where the Islanders ended up winning that game, that was close to going to overtime as well. So for me, I feel like a draw is actually one of my favorite bets in this game. I do think you should have 2 if you're so inclined. Have one straight play on whoever you think is going to win this game. I think a draw is absolutely at play here, and it's only plus 310, which plus 310 is not out. Like, that's a pretty short odd for a overtime. Like, usually we're seeing mid 300s, high 300s. Plus 310 is pretty short to go to overtime. So I like that as well. When it comes to the Devils, in favor of what you guys are saying, the Devils are 3-0 against the Islanders this year. I know that a lot of these games happened earlier in the season. There was one game in late March where the Devils won 4-0. In November, they beat the Islanders 5-4. And in October, they beat the Islanders 5-4 as well. What I found really interesting about this, and this isn't really about the game tonight, but just something to make John feel better when he cries himself to sleep tonight with regards to this Devils season. In goals per game, the Islanders are 23rd. They're 20th in goals against, 21st in power play, 32nd in penalty kill. Now, I haven't done a deep dive on what this compares to every single playoff team, but I would bet that out of those four stats, they're probably the worst or close to the worst out of any playoff team. Like 23rd, 20th, 21st, 30th. They're not top 20 in any of those four categories when it comes to playoff teams. The Devils, 12th in goals per game, 27th in goals against, 10th in power play, 10th in penalty kill, which is like the Devils, man. If they just had some better health, had some better goaltending, the rest of their stats do look like a playoff team. However, for me, I'm just going, 6-1 in their last 7 games. The Islanders are just playing better hockey right now. They're going with Varlamov as their number one goalie. He has been phenomenal for them over this last stretch. I just like the way the Islanders have been playing over the last 10 games, and compare it to the Devils, I don't think it's even really that close. I don't know what the Devils are right now. I don't know if they're scoring. I don't know if they're I don't know what they are this close to the end of the season. So give me the Islanders minus 122, and I love that draw bet at plus 310. I think that's a phenomenal bet. I'll also say, on a side note, Palmieri, he has 4 goals in his last 5 games. Sneaky MVP for this team. Palmieri has had a quiet, but very, very good year, and he is plus 180 to get a goal tonight. Moving on to the Nashville Predators in Pittsburgh. As we said before, Pittsburgh 1 point back of the Capitals, who play the Boston Bruins tonight. So big game. Pittsburgh minus 130 at home against the Nashville Predators, who are plus 10 on the road. Those odds have shifted dramatically since the beginning of the show. It's now even money, both sides. Minus 110 for both sides. It's become a pick'em. I think a lot of people saw Nashville plus 110. Okay, give me that all day. I do think it was good reason why Pittsburgh was favored. This game does not matter to Nashville whatsoever. Apart for just, playing good hockey going into the playoffs. The over is 6 at minus 115. The under is minus 105. Plus 1.5 for the Predators is minus 250. Minus 1.5 for the Penguins is plus 205. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
Yeah, this has a very good shot at being one of the most entertaining games of the night. I know the Predators are not playing for anything really. Essentially locked into that top wild card spot. I guess Vegas could pass them in theory if they win out and Nashville loses this game. But the Preds are going to go for it. They're going to – Saros is starting. That's basically confirmed.
Oh, okay. That's good info.
this is the last game of the season, so there's really nothing to lose. You get a bunch of days off for your playoff opener. You're playing a team that's desperate and a potential postseason, the team that could be in the playoffs, right? So this is a nice little test to wrap up your year. Nashville's going to bring their best. So I understand why this is now minus 110, even in Pittsburgh, because Nashville is the better team. However, Pittsburgh's more desperate. I know Nedeljkovic is starting, unless the DraftKings has Nedeljkovic in over Jari. So you would think the goaltending battle favors the Preds, and it does. But this is in Pittsburgh, tough place to play. This is a team that's more desperate. This is a team that, if they don't get these 2 points, I believe they're out, no? Or the likelihood is that they'll be eliminated if they don't get 2 points tonight.
If everybody loses, then they're not. But if even one of those teams wins, then they would be, yeah.
Yeah. So with the way Pittsburgh's been playing lately, they've had a gauntlet of a schedule to wrap up their year.
Yeah.
Talking Boston, Toronto, Tampa, Rangers, all in April. And in between there, you got a Devils team that's still dangerous. You got a Washington team that's in that playoff mix. You got a Red Wings team that's in that playoff mix. There have not been any breaks for the Penguins. Might help them out come playoff time. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to roll into UBS on Wednesday with a shot at the playoffs. So I'm going to take the Penguins money line. I'm going to take the under. I think it's going to be a tight battle.
What about you, John? What do you see here, dude?
I'm going to keep this short. I don't think the Predators have anything to play for here. They're pretty much locked into the 7th seed, or almost completely locked in. I think Pittsburgh's a much more desperate team. Trust the defense and goaltending there. I'm going to go with their money line to get it done tonight.
Yeah, I'm taking Pittsburgh too. It's just hard for me, and there's going to be some of these games that I'm going to have the same kind of similar theory. Like, if Pittsburgh was plus money, then this I would absolutely love it, because it's like I don't. It's hard to bet on teams that aren't really playing for anything, right? And so I think Pittsburgh, like I mean, Andre, you said it. Like, they have to win the rest of their games. This is not, well, we lose one, we can get the next one. Like, they cannot rely on all of the teams that they are fighting against. They can't rely on all of them losing. Like, they have to take care of business. And they lost 6-4, if memory serves correct, against Boston on the weekend. But they fought really hard in that game. Like they were down pretty big in that game, and the Pittsburgh team that we've seen all year would just lose that game 6-1. But the fact that they came back, fought back, won the game, or not win the game, but a respectable 6-4 loss, huge for them. So I like Pittsburgh here as well. And 7-1-2 in their last 10 games. This is by far the best that they've ever played. And I mean, you said it, man, the gauntlet that they've had, they are absolutely playing the best hockey of their season right now. And I like them to win tonight. The total, I'm not a fan. I would lean over. I can see a 4-3, 5-4 game, but just not really knowing what Nashville has to play for. I would just rather take the Pittsburgh money line, which was minus 130, as I said, and now is minus 110. So you're getting much better odds for Pittsburgh now than you would have an hour ago, and I'll take the Penguins minus 110. Also, you would think the most goals in the last 5 games, you'd think it would be Sidney Crosby. It's not. Malkin, 3 goals over his last 5 games. He is, man, where even is he on this list? He is plus 250 to score tonight, and he has scored the most goals out of any Pittsburgh Penguin over the last 5 games. Again, a Nashville prop, hard to bet on when you don't know what they're fighting for, But Philip Forsberg, man, this guy, 4 goals in his last 5 games. He is shooting the lights. He is having like a million shots every single game. For him to score tonight is plus 100 if you want to take that risk. But I like Malkin at plus 250. Is a nice risk to take. Moving on to Buffalo at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay with nothing left to play for. They are locked into that number 1 wild card seed where Buffalo is riding out the stretch. Tampa Bay is minus 175. Buffalo is plus 145 on the road. The over is 6 at minus 112. The under is minus 108. Plus 1.5 for Buffalo is minus 170. Lightning minus 1.5 is plus 142. I'll keep this short and sweet. It's a risk. That's what gambling is. I'll take Buffalo plus 145. Tampa Bay, the season's locked, loaded, it's done. You're going to the playoffs as the first wild card. Nothing you can do to be worse than that or better than that. I'll take Buffalo. This is what Buffalo does. They play well at the end and make you believe in them for next year and blah, blah, blah. So I'll take Buffalo plus 145. I will say Steven Stamkos, 7 goals in his last 5 games. He is plus 145 to score tonight. So I'm taking Buffalo, and I like Stamkos to get a goal. John, what about you, man? What do you see here?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. I think Buffalo, I would take them for the same reasons. Tampa Bay, just not a lot to play for. Despite a great home record, I think Buffalo has a little more motivation to finish the season strong because, like you said, they're trying to make an impression for next year. Some of the guys on the team probably trying to keep their jobs. Tampa Bay, I think they're probably going to start coasting a little bit these last 2 games. Rest for the playoffs for whoever they have to play. Give me Buffalo plus 145. I think that's good value here.
What about you, Andre? Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, my bad. I'm good. I'm done.
Awesome. Andre, what do you see here, bro?
Yeah, the only thing I looked at when I saw this game was who's starting in net for Tampa. It's Vasilevsky. Makes me think maybe the Lightning won in a 100-point season just for the milestone of it. I don't know.
Yep.
Regardless, for that reason and that reason alone, I'm taking the Lightning 60-minute line because he's in net. I think they're going to win. And I think that even if they don't, there's no way they let this game go to OT. I think they will 100% sell out to end this game in 60 minutes, whether that's emptying the net with 2 minutes left, going for the goal if it's tied, whatever, letting Buffalo get the empty netter. There's no reason playing an extra 5 3-on-3 at this point in the season where you can't move in the standing. So Tampa 60-minute line for me.
Absolutely love it. All right, let's move on to Boston. Speaking of Boston, you can hear my little dude going nuts over there. Just give me a minute, buddy. I'll be right there. Boston is in Washington. We talked about this game. Not important for Boston when it comes to actually getting to the playoffs. But if they want to lock that division, which means they'll have to play Tampa Bay, who would you rather play, man? It's going to be tough in the playoffs for Boston, no matter what. But Boston playing Washington, and we've said this: Washington, they need all the wins, just like the rest of these Eastern Conference teams fighting for that wild card spot. Minus 155 are the Bruins at home, or on the road rather. Plus 130 on the road. I'm a mess. Boston minus 155 on the road. Washington plus 130 at home. The over is 5.5 at minus 112. The under is minus 108. Minus 1.5 for Boston's plus 170. Plus 1.5 for Washington's minus 205. Andre, what do you see here, bro?
Yeah, Boston, they can wrap up the Atlantic Division with 2 points tonight. But I don't see it happening. The Capitals control their own destiny. They have Charlie Lindgren in net. They're at home, coming off a nice win over the Lightning 4-2 on Saturday. This is a good spot for them, honestly, because the Bruins, they go back home tomorrow. They face the Senators. You have to think that's a free 2 points considering the Senators play tonight. The Senators suck on the road all season. I don't really know if the Bruins are going to care if they lose this one. Because in the grand scheme of things, they can lose this one tomorrow, still win the Atlantic. They can lose this, the Panthers can lose, still win the Atlantic. They can fall to 2 in the Atlantic, and then they just play the Maple Leafs instead of the Lightning. That's a lateral move, honestly, especially since they'll still have home ice. I'm going to take the Capitals, who have a 3-0 win over the Bruins this season, to take the 2 points home tonight. I know the last time these teams met, March 30th in DC, the Bruins won 3-2 in a shootout. I think this time around, the Capitals win. Again, they seem to have played well against the Bruins twice, and with the stakes for them, I think that's very important. Low-scoring game. Under all the way. Washington wins.
What about you, John? What do you see here, dude?
I think I'm focusing more on the total here because given Boston's track record, I wouldn't trust them on the puck line, and the money line's obviously too high here. I like the under 5.5, mainly because one edge I see here is that Washington's a bottom 5 team in the league in scoring, and Boston's a top 5 goaltending team in the league. So I think combined with that and Washington having solid goaltending of their own, I think goals are going to come at a premium here. And I feel like under 5.5 is better than any side I would pick here. I certainly agree Washington has more value, but I don't think I have quite enough confidence in them given the goaltending Boston has here.
Yeah, I don't really know which way to go here either. I do think that the division matters, Andre. You touched on it, though. Like, as far as who you play, I don't know who you'd really prefer. I've talked about this before, like off air for sure. I don't know if I've mentioned this on air or not, but Toronto, they get owned by Boston every time they play them, whether it's regular season, whether it's playoffs. Boston has Toronto's number. So maybe there is something psychological where you would rather play Toronto in the playoffs than Tampa. I don't know. But as a side, I don't really know where to go here. Yeah, Washington, what they're playing for is important, but they're not a consistent team that I really want to trust either. So I would just lean with the under, like both you guys. I would lean with the under at minus 108 as well, minus 5.5, or sorry, the under 5.5. But as far as the side goes, I don't really know which way to go. Oh, all right, buddy, come up. All right, moving on to Andre, your boys, the new, yeah, buddy, I know, the New York Rangers. Why don't you take it away, Andre? Lay down the scenario, lay down the odds. This is a huge night for your boys, and I want to know, what you think, because we all know about the President's Trophy curse, and we all know. So, yeah, lay out the scenario, lay out the odds, and how are you feeling about your boys tonight against Ottawa?
Yeah, so if you recall in New Year's, we kind of briefly touched on the President's Trophy race. You asked me, do you want the Rangers to get it? You want to pass it along? I was like, we could just pass the cooties to Boston, like let them suffer again, whatever. I had a change of heart, I've thought about this a lot. And last time the Rangers won the President's Trophy, 2014, 2015, almost 10 years ago, they did not win it all that season, but they lost Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not a choke job by any means. And if you were to tell me in any season that the New York Rangers would have Game 7 of the Conference Finals in the Garden, I'd be there. I would 100% support that every single time. There's nothing else you would rather have as a Rangers fan. Time before that, the Rangers won the President's Trophy. 1994. You know what happened in 94? Rangers won 50 games, won the Stanley Cup. Knicks won 50-something games. Knicks did that this year. O.J. Simpson, he was in the news for something. There was a white Bronco running around. May he rest in peace now. It's feeling like 94 again. You know what? I want the President's Trophy. I want my boys to bring it home tonight. I want the Stanley Cup to run through Madison Square Garden. Rangers -1.5. I already have money on it. Bring it home. I'm not scared. Let's get it.
Oh, look at you. See, I thought you were going to go the other way on that one for sure. So good for you, man. Good for you. I'm right there with you. I've been boycotting the Ottawa Senators games on this show for the last week. But I am, in honor of you, it's your team. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your boys. There's something about this Rangers team. I've said it all year. And so in honor of you, I am taking the New York Rangers -1.5 as well. Now, that might be a bad omen because I can't get Ottawa games right for the life of me. But you know what? I'm rolling with it. New York Rangers -1.5 against Ottawa. John, what about you, bro? What do you see here?
Andre, it could be a very interesting playoff season for you in general, not just in hockey, but yeah, maybe this is a 94 type of vibe. Your Knicks are doing well too, so we'll have to see. Knock on wood. For this tonight, I don't really want to pick a side here because I'm not sure if the Rangers are going to wrap up the money line or not. I'm not betting against them by any means, but I'm not sure if I would go a puck line bet for them, and the money line's ridiculous. What I do kind of like is the under 6 here. I have a feeling the Rangers are going to shut them down. Ottawa tends to choke against some of the best teams in the league. And I think the Rangers are a complete enough team where both of these teams average over 3 goals a game. The Rangers by a considerable amount. But the over-under is at 6, which I find very intriguing. I have a feeling there aren't going to be a ton of goals in this game. I think this is going to be a tighter game than expected. And I don't think there's going to be as many goals despite what these two teams are capable of. With that said, I'm strangely feeling an under 6 play being the best one, mainly because I'm not quite sure if the Rangers will win this by 2 goals or not. That's really the only thing holding me back from doing something else. But I feel strangely confident about that under 6. I think the Rangers are going to show up defensively tonight.
That's really interesting because I would lean over for sure.
It just seems low. The total, it just seems low.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I would lean over for sure, but you know what? With like I said, the way I'm picking Ottawa games, man, I'm just sticking with the puck line. I'm not getting so I'll give John this one because I'm not going anywhere near anything else in this game. All right, moving on to a couple of games that kind of sort of matter, but not really matter. San Jose, they are in Edmonton, with Edmonton losing to the Canucks on Saturday. Edmonton they are where they are. They're second place in the division. That's not changing. For better or worse, that's just what it is now. And San Jose, I don't really need to say anything about that. Edmonton is -575 now. On your screen, it says 440, but it has moved to -575, where the San Jose Sharks are +425 now. What I will say is this, and this is all I'm going to say because I'm not going to go on a long tangent about this. With odds like this, if you got some fun money, some side money, your bankroll's not at like $20 and you're, hanging on to every bet or else you're going to lose your house. Like if you just got some fun money you can afford to lose, take San Jose all day in this, man. +425. The game doesn't matter to the Oilers. Just take it. Or +1.5 for the Sharks is +164. Take it. Have some fun. Take these crazy odds and let the chips fall where they may. Like I said, if you winning this bet means you get to buy food for the rest of the week, then don't bet this game. But if you got some money you can lose, bet the Sharks. See what happens. John, what about you? What do you see in this game?
Yo, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. I'm pretty much in lockstep with you. Do not bet this game under any circumstances if the money actually means something to you. But if you just want to have fun late at night on a Monday night betting hockey, throw like $5 or $10 on it that you won't miss. Then yeah, pick a side. Pick San Jose puck line. Why not? Because honestly, I don't think Edmonton has anything to play for, but San Jose is just so bad that I can't confidently say anything about this game. I think this is the worst game on the slate to bet. Um, this would be my stay away game, but I feel like the fact that Oilers don't have much to play for, it might just be worth putting puck line bet on the Sharks, just because you're getting somewhat decent odds. What do you think, Andre? You agree, or you have something more valuable than my input?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Oilers can technically catch the Canucks and win the Pacific, but they're not going to. They'd need to win out, and the Canucks would need to lose their last 2 games in regulation. So there's nothing really here. I guess take the over if you want a somewhat serious bet. But when I'm looking at it, there's no -2.5 available. So I'm going to roll with Sharks 60-minute line because why not? I have a couple bucks to throw away. It's plus 550. Nothing to lose. I don't think McDavid's coming back for this one. So yeah, why not? Throw some fun money on the Sharks because it's the end of the season. This doesn't matter. And like the Sharks goalie said the other night when he carried the team to a win, nothing in life really matters anyway. So moving on, because that was a little dark. Last game of the night, Wild versus Kings. It's pretty much locked in for this one too. Looking at where the Kings are in the standings, they're the 3rd in the Pacific. I guess the Knights can catch them. They might be playing for that, but I don't think it really matters. This is in LA. They're -166, obviously. The over-under I'm pulling up now. It looks like it's 5.5. John, what do you have for this one?
Not a lot to play for here. I think the Kings are just playing to either come in third or be the 8th seed, one or the other. But I think either way, it's going to be a tough draw for them. I got the under 5.5 as my best play here because I think that's noticeably low considering how many goals the Kings and the Wild both put up. I mean, both of these teams average over 3 goals a game. I don't think the Wild had the best goaltending, so the under 5.5 total really stood out to me. I just have a feeling it's going to play out like that, and the odds, the Vegas odds, are there for a reason. So I'm just playing this completely by numbers. I like the under 5.5 here.
Yeah, with the way the Kings are playing too, the under's tends to work. So I agree with you on that one. They're playing pretty well. I think at home they're going to try to do something. The past couple of games, like you said, low scoring, but they have a pair of multi-goal wins recently. The Ducks for the Flames. This game Thursday against the Blackhawks, they're going to the same goal because I think that's what the Kings are. So I'm going to roll with their puck line, actually. Also, not a lot of wiggle room. This tends to be a tough one with the 5.5, but it's the way the game kind of like it.
Amazing. John, yeah, by the way, my wife had to leave halfway through the show, and so I'm on dad duty, and what you got to do, it's nap time. I'm in the middle of a show. Just got to give the kid a couple strawberries, and you just, you move on. The kid loves strawberries. Good thing it's something healthy, and hopefully he lasts the next 3 minutes so we can wrap up the show. John, did you already go with this game?
Yeah, I took the under for this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I have no idea. I'll take Minnesota because I have a weird hate on for the Kings that I don't fully understand. It's probably a me issue, but I'll take Minnesota. Who knows? I don't really have anything crazy other than Kaprizov, 7 goals in his last 5 games. And I'll just kind of add this as like a little, like, not disclaimer, but a little kind of like ending to this Minnesota Wild season. By the way, Kaprizov is a -115 to score tonight. He's been red hot. Minnesota, man, the season that could have been if their goaltending was better at the beginning of the year, if their health was better. I really do think that Minnesota is a good team, and I really do think that this team could have made it to the playoffs and done something somewhat significant in the playoffs. Minnesota's been one of those teams that consistently gets to the playoffs and just doesn't really do anything. I really do think this is a good team, and it's just too bad the unfortunate twists and turns that this season had for them. So I'll take Minnesota, and I'll take Kaprizov to get a goal as well. Moving on to our best bets, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. With our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing. It doesn't matter. You can get it at FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Using our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off regular priced items or sales items that are already up to 50% off. And with our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever the sales price is as well. Can't beat that deal. Go to FirstRoundCollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number 1, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, we'll start with you, dude. What is your best bet in the NHL tonight?
Yeah, for a lot of these games, it's really hard to know what you're gonna get. Rangers Senators, I feel confident both of their games this season, at least earlier in Ottawa, were high scoring, so I really like the over in that one. But even more so, I like the under in Bruins Capitals. They've met twice this year as well, both in 2024 or post All-Star break. The Capitals 3-0 win. The first time, the Bruins a 3-2 win. The second time in a shootout. Both of those under 5 goals, even with the extra time. I like it in this one, especially since both teams have something to play for. Both teams are stronger when it comes to stopping the puck. That's kind of how they've gotten this far. So under 5.5 at -108 for me in the nation's capital.
The bet that just has always been forgotten about. John, what about you, dude? What do you see as your best bets?
I'm going to take the Penguins money line here. I just feel like Nashville doesn't have anything much left to play for. This is a must-win game for the Penguins. I believe if they lose tonight, they're not automatically out, but they're realistically out. So I just feel like they're going to keep this up for one more night at least. Give me the Penguins money line there.
All right, we're going to keep this one short and sweet. I'm taking the New York Rangers -1.5. I hate to do it with the Ottawa game, but you know what? I really love the Rangers' chance in this one to take it all -1.5. Andre, what do we got as odds for that parlay?
I'm trying to get John's bet in there, and it's not. John, can you say it one more time, please?
The Penguins money line.
That's what I thought. It's just not loading. All right, there we go. I don't know why that wasn't working. So starting with the 7 o'clocks, under 5.5 in Bruins Capitals is -108. Penguins money line at home against the Predators is -110. At 7:30, you can pivot to the Garden where the Rangers -1.5 is +105. Altogether, that is a +653 parlay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely love it. I'm a good father, I swear. We're going to move on. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Be back tomorrow and the rest of the week as we get you ready for the playoffs. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SportsEye for 10% off. Big shout out to Total Apex Sports. Head over on there today. They got lots of stuff coming up throughout the day. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great day.